In my quiet times, I like nothing better than to sit at my kitchen table with the door open to the garden and the dogs running to and fro, and leaf through one of my vintage sewing pattern magazines looking for inspiration. And we start with an advertisement for Ovaltine, which I think we would say was a traditional hot drink of the era, but of course they didn't want sales to dip during the summer months, so we have Ovaltine for the best summer drink yet. It's Ovaltine served cold. It's captivating the country, apparently. A delicious summer drink that gives quick energy, and perhaps that was considered useful before you set to on sewing up these patterns. And we begin with two smart day frocks and a really pretty evening frock, all made from the same pattern. Both day frocks have the same fitted bodice and pin-tucked flared skirt. And then we come to my double dress stand, the perfect dress stand for the home dressmaker. It's ingenious, and most ingenious, in fact, ever contrived, it says, for it can be fully adjusted to reproduce your own figure perfectly. Imagine the advantage of it, whether you, your friends, or your clients are slim, stout, tall, or short. The pliable wire meshes of my double can be pinched or squeezed to exactly the same proportions of your figure and retain the shape indefinitely. Perfectly simple to use, it says, and very adjustable. And then we go on to 3 smart washing frocks designed for beginners to make. And the washing frocks, you often hear them referred to in vintage sewing pattern magazines, meant to be worn to do your housekeeping and chores in. So they were basically very easy to wash, and they might even be worn over your smart clothes, but worn at home so that you could do your housework but also nip out errands and still look smart. And in the first one you can see the rows of pockets on each side, 3 pockets on each side of the bodice. And pockets, it says, are becoming more and more important in fashion, and to have a row of them down each side of your bodice is smartness itself, although actually those in this design are just pocket flaps, which is all you'd want, wouldn't you? Otherwise you want a kind of lumpiness down each side of your bodice. And the rest of the frock is very simple, with a narrow collar that can be turned up or down and a row of buttons from neck to hem. And it recommends making this dress in an embroidered linen. In the centre we come onto a tub frock. And you might wonder what the difference between a tub frock and a washing frock was. And both were intended to be practical frocks. A washing frock was typically worn to do the household chores and was slightly more utilitarian and made from more durable fabrics than the tub frock. The idea of a tub frock was that it was a protective garment that women wore over the clothes when they had to do washing up or laundry tasks that involved getting their clothes wet. It was more like a protective layer that kept their actual dress clean and dry, and that they could easily take off after doing the washing up or laundry. But both washing frocks and tub frocks were practical and even essential for keeping everyday clothes clean. And another tub frock on the far right, so easy to make, it says, it will tempt even those that haven't made a frock before. Only 5 pieces to the pattern and the sleeves cut and run with the bodice and the yoke. And above in the little box, why don't you, it says wear a bunch of cherries in the buttonhole of your white linen suit and a cherry and white spotted scarf to match. Isn't that a sweet little tip? And the other is a necklace of artificial flowers in every possible colour with a simple white or black evening frock. This is like a little tip in that box on the top right. And then, no matter what your dressmaking problem, Winifred Wren is here to help you. Here's a letter from Miss K of Rotherham. She's having trouble finding youthful styles that suit her what she calls larger figure without making her look older. Winifred's advice is to go for V necklines, soft bodices and flared skirts. She recommends a hip-length, loose-fitting jacket to help conceal those extra inches. And of course, if she's using a striped fabric, to make sure the stripes run down, not around. Actually timeless advice, don't you think? And another reader, Mrs. B of High Wycombe, asks about wearing a hip-length coat since she describes herself as rather short and fairly big around the hips. Winifred tells her to absolutely go for it, but just to make sure the coat hits just above the hip line. This is for sunny days and starlit nights. I do think that a printed evening frock is a sound investment for summer, for it will look cool and won't date easily, and you can go on wearing it right through into the winter. The style suggested embodies most of the season's smartest features: a heart-shaped neckline, a soft full bodice just taken in just under the bust, and a slightly ruched waistline with a wide flared skirt. And if you're wise, she says, you'll buy a little extra fabric to make a bolero. Make sure it says you are, quote, in the swim, and perhaps make the simple little frock to match so you can slip it over your play suit when you're not sunbathing. And it could be made in blue and white, scarlet and white, or the fashionable deco green. And also for summer sewing, we have lingerie sets on tailored or pretty feminine lines. So on the lower left, we have, if you choose your outer clothes for their simple lines, you will like these more tailored pyjamas and undies. The pyjamas have a sports blouse top and wide-legged trousers set into a neatly fitted waistband, with the lingerie just as trim. Or you might want to make a delightful trousseau set with the prettiest nightie with little cape sleeves. That's the one on the right. And it recommends lingerie crepe printed with bouquets of coloured flowers on a pastel blue background. And it's smart, it says, to have your nightwear match your daytime undies. So make this set of nightie, slip and knickers all in the same fabric and trim them with narrow lace. And as well as for those who, it says, take pride in their undies, there's a little bed jacket for you to slip on for your early morning tea. And this, of course, should match your nightie, and perhaps make them in a flower sprigged crepe and bind the scalloped edges to tone. And on the lower right, it says you will find a pair of house pyjamas like these, so comfortable to change into after a hot, tiring day. Wide leg trousers drawn up into elastic at the waist and made in either silk or cotton. And it says polka dots, which of course were very fashionable in the 1930s, always look smart. And here the editorial asks, have you tried one of these new princess frocks Frocks at the waist, you'll be surprised how slimming they are. Of course, that little gathered in waist emphasising the waistline. And on a really hot day, you might want this polka dot crepe style in the centre, which has a becoming bodice and a simple flared skirt and tiny bows that add a pretty finish. And then there's the lady in the headscarf, and the headscarf hinting that this is a tub frock. You could afford it as just one more tub frock if you choose a simple style like this one that you can run up yourself in a few hours. And we have this charming spotted voile frock, which has transparent and flimsy style that with a charm all of its own and beautifully cool to wear. And this is another easy to make design. And then a dress with princess seams, with a choice, it said, of making it up in printed silk, linen or cotton. Very simple, but with these beautiful princess lines, no unnecessary trimming. And that of course hints that we had the Great Depression in the 30s and we're coming up to war in 1939. So there's an emphasis on economy that runs through this magazine. And you must have, it says, at least one striped frock, for striped fabrics are an outstanding feature of the summer. Choose the gayest one you can find. And this has been designed so the stripes run down on the yoke and the skirt and around on the sleeves and the bodice. I love that playfulness with stripes. And then we have the one with the spotty jabot and belt and actually matching spotty handkerchief in the pocket. You could wear a frock like this, it says, day in and day out and not grow tired of it, because it's such an excellent foundation frock for ringing the changes. Make it up in a not too light colour and then brighten it up with a variety of jabots, belts and hankies. What a lovely idea. And lastly on this spread, although it's simple, there's a touch of shirring on the bodice and on the caught up sleeves and on the skirt panel that gives these lovely delicate feminine touches to a pretty frock made up in printed silk. And then we have a spread dedicated to making your own dresses and lingerie if you are, as they say, not so slender, although the ladies on these pages all look rather slender, don't they? And on the lower left we have a tub frock, which it says can be as smart and flattering as your more formal clothes if you keep an eye open for slimming lines. This one, for instance, with its crossover bodice and its simple flared skirt, can make you look much thinner. It suggests a gay checked gingham or seersucker. Or there's a simple shirt waist frock, one of the coolest styles you can wear for hot weather. And this one that you can see with the polka dots can be made up with long or short sleeves. And then we're on to the lingerie, and there is it says designed specially for those with built up shoulders. It's cut on very simple slim fitting lines, and it promises if you are over average, it says, in size, your lingerie can be just as dainty as your slimmer sisters. Copy this simple nightie, it suggests, in a pretty flowered lingerie silk, and edge the matching bed jacket with lace. And then we have the wrap over frock, always a favourite, it says, with bigger women, for she knows how much slimmer it makes her look. Here's an up-to-date version with the bodice gathered on an unusual shoulder yokes and full sleeves drawn into wrist-fitting cuffs. And below it says, of course, you can wear an odd jacket suit and it won't make you look an inch bigger if you choose one as simple and tailored looking as this is the one on the right. And it says, make the jacket in a print and the skirt in plain. And below, a frock with a becoming bodice and cleverly cut skirts. You can see that little detail at the hips, and it's partnered with a slightly flared plinth coat, and it promises this is an ensemble that will make you feel your best and your slimmest. And then we have a pretty late 30s knitting pattern included in the magazine, and this magazine will be joining my gradually growing collection of PDF copies of my vintage magazines, and I'm hoping to do both a original black and white and colorized version, both of which or either of which you can download for the same price on my Ko-fi shop. But there will be other magazines joining it, so don't feel impelled, but it's there if you want it. And here we have smart cottons for last minute sewing if summer has caught you rather on the hop. And far left, there's a very easy frock to make. The lady just with a dog on the lead there, with its novel shaped yoke to give it interest and add to its charm. And there's a little coatie included with this pattern too. And then next to it, a simple style with a gay striped cotton, because it emphasises again stripes are fashion news. Or perhaps for less than a shilling a yard you can buy gay cottons that even the most restricted budget would allow for a pretty run-around frock like this. It will look as smart as your silk frocks. And again, the headscarf is hinting that this is a dress that would have been used for household chores and running around doing errands. And we also have the emphasis on budget, because this was a time when people were on low budgets, just as they are today. And then we have a simple yoked bodice trimmed with pleats and a slim centre pleated skirt. A frock, it says, you could be proud to wear, and perhaps a perfect holiday ensemble. Of course, most people holidayed at home in Britain, not abroad at this time. And then we have details on how to make up the free pattern that came with this magazine. I'm afraid that I'm unable to digitise sewing patterns, so I can't include the sewing pattern for you, but you can see the pattern giveaway with this magazine, which made it such a budget-friendly option for women of the 1930s. And you can make this style up sleeveless for what they called a tennis frock, or with the pretty puff sleeves for an afternoon dress, and then to make it even more versatile, a little bolero that went over the top. And then some suggestions for fabrics to make up the dresses in for holiday time wear, as it says. And pre-global warming, we also have suggestions for long or short coats to make up for the summer, of course made up in either cotton or linen, tailored looking usually, but all these ones are, it emphasises, simple to make. And coats or jackets like these, it says, would team up with any printed silk frock to make a perfect summer ensemble. Figure flattering, whether that you're tall or petite, and with graceful lines, and of course they're all wearing hats. And finishing with an advertisement for a friendly, fascinating, it says, card game with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Of course, that was the very popular film of the time. We still know that Walt Disney version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the late 30s one, where you can see that Snow White is modelled on the beauty of Hedy Lamarr. And I very much hope that you have enjoyed looking through this magazine as much as I have, and reliving those times of the late 1930s when looking pretty and smart, even to do the housework or run errands, was so important. Thank you for watching, and I shall very much look forward to seeing you next time.